Mamdani is an avowed socialist. It's not what people say that he is. It's what he says that he is. He's now the leader of their party. That's their energy. And Chuck Schumer's
the leader of the Democratic Party.
Let's swear.
There is no. Who is the leader? Can someone tell me?
He's a life raft for Republicans who have to go on TV and get their asses kicked.
You own this now. You all own this now.
We've had progressive mayors. I don't think anybody thought that de Blasio.
He's the best actor you all have, is he not?
Listen,
Mamdani.
Here's what I'll say.
Hey, welcome into Courageous Media. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. So Scott Jennings on last night's, bad night for conservatives. And that is the fact that they want the Democrats, the ultra leftists, not even the progressives, the ultra leftist socialists won in Virginia, in New Jersey, and in New York. We now have an openly avowed communist, Islamist, jihadist as the mayor of New York City. It is going to get really strange here for a while, but we're going to dive into that. There is some hope. We still have some red states doing red state stuff. So what it's showing is that blue states are going to continue to double down on stupid while red states continue to basically double down on everything else. So I really appreciate everybody rolling up. Thanks so much for being here. Welcome to Courageous Media. Mighty Mom is in there. 2 Corinthians 4v6 is in there. Thanks everybody for being here. Really appreciate you rolling up. Cheryl, thanks for being here. So not a good day for conservatives yesterday. Really not a good day for America. And that's not just because we had Democrats win. It wasn't the fact that Democrats won. It was the fact that ultra left, radical, socialist, communists won. In New York City, we've got Mamdani, who is, everybody knows, he's a radical communist Islamist jihadist. Those are his own words. He is an Islamist. He is a communist. Those are his own words. And it's even now scaring the Democrats. Van Jones has to wake up today and realize that as much as he wanted Mamdani to, just kind of be a light communist, no, he's full all in. He has taken the big tent that Democrats were trying to build in some places, and he's shrunk it. He's closed the sides and says, you are no longer welcome. So we're going to dive into that. We're also we're talking about the fact that in Virginia, Spanberger won. She's more of an establishment candidate, but Jay Jones, the openly avowed, I want to kill my political adversaries, attorney general won. He is now the top cop in Virginia, and he's openly called for the assassination of political conservatives. This is absolutely nuts. This is how far left the mainstream Democrat voter has gotten. And when I say mainstream, I say the base, because mainstream, obviously, in these aren't even midterms. These are off-year elections. They're not presidential elections. They're not midterm elections. So none of these are national. So you've got, in general, very low, relatively, voter turnout. Your independents, your low propensity voters do not show up to these. These are base elections. And what you've got is you're now finding out that the base of the Democrat Party is ultra far left. So we can now take that as conservatives, as Republicans, they need to take that knowledge into the next year when we are vying for the midterms and realize that the base of the Democrat Party is ultra far left. So do not discount the likes of Sandy Ocasio or Ilhan Omar or their ilk in these congressional races. We have to fight and win. Now, let's dive into this because, like I said, buckle up, get ready to go, because even the Democrats are a little bit worried now over what is taking place. We're going to dive into a snippet of Mamdani's victory speech, his screed against America and Trump and anything that is not ultra far left communist. Then we're going to dive into Van Jones and his reaction to that. But I really appreciate everybody rolling up. Thanks so much for being here. Cheryl, yep. They said, 24 years ago, they said, never forget, as the Twin Towers were tumbling down. Well, New York City forgot, and here's what they're going to get. Oh, sorry about that.
If anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. And if there is any way to terrify a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power. This is not only how we stop Trump, it's how we stop the next one. So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. We will hold bad landlords to account because the Donald Trumps of our city have grown far too comfortable taking advantage of their tenants. We will put an end to the culture of corruption that has allowed billionaires like Trump to evade taxation and exploit tax breaks. We will stand alongside unions and expand labor protections because we know, just as Donald Trump does, that when working people have ironclad rights, the bosses who seek to extort them become very small indeed. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant. So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us. If any...
Wow. Okay. So much in that little snippet. One, it is entirely about Donald Trump, not about New York, not about what's best for the citizens of New York. No. It's all about 2 things. Basically, I hate Donald Trump. I am consumed by TDS. And oh, by the way, if you're an American citizen, sit down, shut the F up and go to the back of the line, because this is all about immigrants and the illegals and the criminal illegal aliens that have overrun New York like an infestation. It's absolutely amazing. That's what his whole speech was about. I did find it ironic that he said that they were going to hold bad landlords to account. You mean like Letitia James with her 5-unit brownstone there that she claims is a 4-unit brownstone, and she's basically ripped off the city of New York and the state of New York based on that for decades. Are we going to go after her, Zoran? Probably not. No. Because it's rules for thee, not for me or for us. So no. There will be no backlash against Letitia James for her fraudulent reporting of her 5-unit building. No. There'll be none of that. We're going to suddenly basically hold taxpayers to account. How is that? You don't have the power. That is a state function. Now, the only thing you can do is try to expand New York City taxes, but you've already got 800,000 people that are looking to leave. And if you just get 10 to 15% of the ultra high net worth people, they take their business, their top employees, and their income out of the city of New York, your tax base crumbles to the point you cannot do anything. This is looking very much like potentially New York City in the 70s, before it really got bad enough and Giuliani took over. When New York City was essentially bankrupt, it had to get bailed out. It was full of crime, full of bad. They didn't even have trash pickup at times. So if anybody remembers those days of New York, I think I could be wrong. That's what I predict we will see in the next few years. Now, this might all be hindered by the fact that Hochul probably won't even let him do half of his agenda. But it's not, for him, it's not about the agenda. It's not about the policy, so to speak. This is all about gaining a foothold for criminal illegal aliens in the United States of America. He is going to oppose Donald Trump and the ICE efforts in New York City. It's going to make life hell for legal immigrants and U.S. citizens in New York City. That's the unfortunate part. We're going to see if it gets bad enough. What do you think in the comments? Will it be bad enough? Lena617, you are right in some way. The Democrat politicians are completely backed by the globalist agenda. They're not necessarily scared of the Zoran Mamdanis, although Cuomo was a Democrat. Cuomo was a mainstream establishment Democrat. I'm talking about some of the Democrats in the media now are looking at this and going, ooh, do we really want this? We're going to check in with Van Jones, also a communist. And this guy's even too communist for him. So it's absolutely amazing stuff. All right, let's dive into that because here is Van Jones talking about Mamdani's victory speech and just how unifying and amazing it was to have a progressive leftist take over the city of New York. Well, maybe not. Check this out.
But I think he missed an opportunity. I think the Mamdani that we saw on the campaign trail, who was a lot more calm, who was a lot warmer, who was a lot more embracing, was not present in that speech. And I think that Mamdani is the one you need to hear from tonight. There are a lot of people trying to figure out, can I get on this train with him or not? Is he going to include me? Is he going to be more of a class warrior, even in office? I think he missed a chance tonight to open up and bring more people into the tent. I think his tone was sharp. I think he was using the microphone in a way that he was almost yelling. And that's not the Mamdani that we've seen on TikTok and the great interviews and stuff like that. So I felt like there's a little bit of a character switch here where the warm, open, embracing guy that's close to working people was not on stage tonight. And there was some other voice on stage. That said, he's very young. And he just pulled off something that's very, very different.
So basically, here you got Van Jones saying, I don't know about this speech. He essentially closed the tent. When you heard that speech, all he had to say was Trump bad and immigrants good. If you're an American citizen, STFU. Basically, that's what I heard from that speech. If you heard something other than that speech, let me know because I'd love to hear it. From that little snippet of his speech, that's essentially all he had to say, Mamdani. Now, here's Van Jones basically talking about, the Mamdani that we saw on the campaign trails, far nicer, far better, far more accommodating. But remember, it's this version of Mamdani that we also saw on the campaign trail. So what version of Mamdani Van Jones saw, I'm not really sure. But remember that this is, a major portion of Mamdani's campaign was stuff like this right here.
Laugh and agree when a radio show host said that I would cheer another 9/11. When I listened to the current mayor of this city explaining his decision to endorse Andrew Cuomo as a decision to ensure that New York City does not become Europe, that we do not leave it to violent extremists who burn churches in Nigeria. When I listen to all of this and then turn on TV and see ads that have the words of terrorism and jihad on top of my face that not only mock the way that I eat, but are all intended to terrify New Yorkers as to the prospect of having a Muslim mayor, I decided that it was simply too much. It was too much to think of these as the acts of desperate men looking to salvage the little power that they still had. It was, in fact, a reflection of Islamophobia within our political system that has become so endemic that when we hear it, we do not know from which party it comes. We just know that it is a fact.
So basically, Islamophobia, I'm a victim, vote for me. I mean, Mamdani has set this thing up from the get-go. He was never about being inclusive. It was always about gaining power. And he offered free stuff in order to gain power, some stuff that he knew he could never deliver on. There's no way he can ever deliver on tax the rich and tax white neighborhoods. He can try, but that's not going to be upheld in court. And when it comes to major taxing of the rich, Hochul is not going to let him do it. Now, we'll see what he does from a New York City tax perspective. We'll see. Because remember, that's the only thing he controls. But here's Scott Jennings after Van Jones's little quasi self-reflective, I don't know about this Mamdani guy based on this speech, but check this out, because of course, Scott Jennings just destroys all of them. Here we go.
Scott?
Oh, are you saying he wasn't the unifying voice of a generation that you predicted mere moments ago? Axe, where was the man that you predicted would not slice and dice the? Look, guys, he started his speech by quoting Eugene Debs, who ran for president of the United States 5 times as the Socialist Party of America candidate. He repeatedly attacked people in this. No, I know my socialists. I keep a close eye on them. I work close here. So here's the thing. He went after everybody that he thinks is a problem. People who own things, people who have businesses. He said an interesting quote: "No problem too large for government to solve."
Or too small, important.
And so when you think of the world that way, that every problem, no matter how small or how large, is something for government to do, let me just decipher this for you. Tax increases as far as the eye can see, which means the people who need to provide jobs to the young people that you say need jobs are going to flee as quickly as they possibly can. I think this was a divisive speech, and he clearly sees the world in terms of the people who are oppressing you and the oppressed. And he said the oppressed are now in City Hall.
Way to go, Scott Jennings. He's absolutely right. This was an utterly divisive speech. It wasn't about New York City at all. It was all about Trump derangement, and I'm going to shill for illegal aliens. It's absolutely nuts. And this is not what the real voters of New York City wanted. But he was able to cobble together the rich progressive whites, the uninformed, ill-informed student class, together into a coalition backed by, again, the fact that in New York City, criminal illegal aliens can vote. We saw that. If you didn't check out yesterday's video where James O'Keefe was able to uncover the fact that they have entire organizations dedicated to helping illegal aliens vote, regardless of their citizenship status in these local elections. And it is a major, major problem. You've got that going on also in Virginia and New Jersey. It's not limited strictly to New York, which accounts for a lot of the issues that we see in these blue state elections, which is why Mikey Sherrill and Spanberger and Jay Jones were able to win in those elections. Even bigger than some of the poll numbers were suggesting. It's because we know there are issues with voting irregularities in blue states. And blue states are going to continue to blue state. They are doubling down on it. It's absolutely scary. Now, while this is going on, you've got states like Texas, red states doing red state stuff. So it wasn't a total loss in the off-season elections last night. We see things like in Texas passed a constitutional amendment requiring proof of citizenship to vote in all elections. So red states are going about fixing elections in red states. Now we just need to do this from a federal perspective, which I talked yesterday is one of the reasons I would support abolishing the filibuster. If Trump can get the Senate to go along with it, but only abolish the filibuster. Don't do it to reopen the government. Only abolish the filibuster if you're going to pass hardcore constitutional based laws, especially around elections, rights and or benefits for illegal aliens, basically getting rid of them. Not a thin red dime for criminal illegal aliens, massive changes to voting citizenship only. You must prove citizenship, only in-person voting, only audited paper ballots, hand counted. We do things like that. If you're willing to do things like that from a congressional perspective, then yes, get rid of the filibuster so that we can do more red state stuff like this. But the other thing that I thought was pretty amazing after the election results yesterday, we saw what, frankly, concerned me. We saw some of these people come out of the woodwork. Suddenly they are out loud and proud, really about what I think Mamdani's whole reason for running and trying to win in New York. It wasn't about state-run grocery stores. I think that was just something he threw out there. It wasn't about rent control. I think, again, that's something he threw out there. He was pandering to a progressive left that he knew he could get on board with the free stuff, TD, and the combination of free stuff and TDS, which if you could make it about, sometimes you can make it about Trump in a deep blue state, in a deep blue area, you could possibly use that as a winning formula. He used free stuff and TDS to get himself into office. But what is this really all about? This is what I think Mamdani's really all about, because a lot of his supporters were out loud and proud after the election. Check this out.
And the true believer knows that none of this is in vain, that this is all jihad, that this is all ibadah, and that this is all counted for by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Now, she says it's all jihad, which we know what jihad means, but it's all ibadah, which from my understanding is basically means, battle the infidel, kill the infidel, destroy the infidel. Correct me if I'm wrong.
And so the conversation of doxing, the conversation of getting arrested and suspended, I think it's time for Muslims to start to say, all right, so what? Do what you want. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, because it's about time to do that. And I know everybody has their own families and has an education and everything. It's just a question. We don't want to get doxxed, and we don't want to get suspended, and we don't want to get arrested. How gangsta are you? That's just my question. How much are you willing to do it? And I know everyone has their own risk level.
So here's what I think it's all about. It's essentially about, even more than he is a communist, he is an Islamist. It's about putting an Islamist in control of the largest city in America. It's about putting Islamists front and center. It's about their desire, the Islamist desire for power inside the United States. They are the Trojan horse. We've already seen what happens to communities like Dearborn and other places. That's what I think this is all about. That's why I think he ran. That's why he had the massive backing of Soros and the globalists, because this is about putting a wedge inside America, in the biggest city in America. Check this out. Again, right after the election. Here we go. This is scary stuff.
Hiding. We're done. We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be upon, of Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me.
We will not stop until it enters every home. Realize they don't say, hey, we're not going to stop until everybody, sees the truth and embraces the, no. We will not stop until we have shoved this by force of arms into every home. You will submit by force. That's what this is about.
I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it as if the Ummah depends on this, my brothers and sisters. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadan Rasulullah. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah, the God of Jesus, the God of Moses, the God of Abraham, and the God of the last and final prophet Muhammad.
So this is what it's all about. Now realize everything he just said in that last 10 seconds is utterly not true. It is an egregious lie. The only God, the only one true God, is the triune God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And that God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That God is Jesus Christ. Christ is King. Christ is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. What they call Allah is not. He's not a God. And I'm not going to get into a major theological discussion here. We can do that at another time. But that God, Allah, is not God at all. But this is what it's about. It's about taking Islam and shoving it into every home by force. These are out loud and proud in New York City last night after the election. This is the scary part. This is what I think it was all about. Now, let me know what you think. I really appreciate everybody rolling up. Please smash that like button, comment for the algorithm, FTA, if you could, please. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, and if you really like the content, please share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. Now, I want to piggyback on this story because, again, this is all about them being the globalists, right? In line with the Islamists trying to drive a wedge issue into America. Now, I'm going to play that clip again because I want it to be an introduction into 3 video snippets that I have that I think are very telling. One by Dinesh D'Souza, another on Tim Pool's podcast, and then finally, Charlie Kirk sounding this alarm a long time ago. So before we get into that, please smash that like button again, subscribe. Resnap, thanks so much for being in the house. Really appreciate you guys rolling up. 2 Corinthians 4v6, really appreciate you being here. Voices with Vicky is all about control. It's so disturbing. Absolutely 100% true. All right, let's dive right in here. We'll replay this clip, and then we'll get into what I think, again, a follow on to what I think this is all about. Here we go.
We're done hiding. We're done. We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be upon, of Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it as if the Ummah depends on this, my brothers and sisters. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadan Rasulullah. There is no God worthy of worship except.
Hey, welcome to Courageous Media again. So there you have it. This is what I think the New York City election was about. Now, the other elections that took place throughout the country were, not good for conservatives. Absolutely not. Spanberger in Virginia, Sherrill in Jersey, Jay Jones in Virginia. But again, these are deep blue states doing deep blue state nonsense, while we've got red states doing great red state stuff. But this election in New York, the fact that Mamdani ran, the fact that he won, the fact that he was backed by every globalist organization, the fact that he took a whole bunch of illegal money from the Soros Foundation, that's already been uncovered. I want to see where that investigation is going to go. Because Soros essentially took money and funneled it through individual contributors in order to bypass election law and call it grassroots. So we've got all that going on. But I want to get into this because Dinesh D'Souza was on a podcast talking about his red-green axis, of evil victory arch. And this, I think, all comes down to what is the real danger here. The real danger is not that we have an extreme progressive knucklehead in charge of New York. If it was only about that, we'd simply wait a couple of years, see that all their policies failed. We know exactly what they would do. They would blame wealth. They would blame the wealthy. They'd blame somebody else. It wouldn't be about the policies. The media would try to back them up. But again, it would be another linchpin in the fact that, hey, let's not do this. Okay. It would be another delay in a further socialist agenda in the United States. No, this is worse than that, because this isn't necessarily about the socialist communist agenda, which you have objective means of deciding if it works. No, this is more about the Islamist agenda. This is more about trying to do to America what they've done to Dearborn, what they've done in the UK. That's the scary part. So check this out from Dinesh D'Souza, and let me know what you think in the comments. Please smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already to the channel. Here we go. Oh, and we got to do this.
I think with Mamdani, it's the opposite, isn't it? It's not just that New York might be kind of losing its mind, and this is particularly ominous just a quarter century after 9/11, but I think Mamdani represents the left's operating model, the Red-Green Alliance. You said it. My wife calls Mamdani an Islamic human victory arch, by which she means the tendency of Muslim conquerors over the centuries to put victory arches on top of churches that they conquered or cities that they conquered, like Jerusalem. And but we can be pretty sure that if Mamdani wins in New York, as seems likely at this point, that model will then be applied to other blue cities and also to blue cities in red states. It might become the Houston model and the Dallas model. So this is not something that would be confined to the San Franciscos of the world or the Los Angeleses of the world. We could see it happening all over the country, and that suggests that we need a very strong and powerful conservative movement, a strong and powerful MAGA movement, and a strong and powerful right. I think that there is an inherent paradox in these situations, which I would put this way. If the Democratic Party in general were to move to the center, that would be, in a way, good for the country, because it would be the case that not in every election are we putting our whole way of life at stake. But it would also make that Democratic Party more difficult to defeat, because it would be closer to the mainstream of what most Americans think and feel. So what we're dealing with is the exact opposite. If the Democratic Party pulls further to the left, if it explicitly embraces socialism, if it starts making common cause with global jihadis, well, on the one hand, we could say that's good news, because now we can hang that millstone around their neck and they're going to be less electable on the national level. That's the good news. But the bad news is that if by some chance they win, then we are looking at the almost active destruction of what we call the United States of America. So on the one hand, there are some political gains to be had from a Mamdani. He is toxic, and he will be toxic in national elections. And we will, in fact, try to hang him around the neck of the Democratic Party. On the other hand, I do think that long-term, this kind of thing does not bode well for the country as a whole.
Dinesh D'Souza, folks, is the host of our... So
he's absolutely right. This does not bode well for the country as a whole. In the short term, could it be hung as a millstone around the Democrat Party's neck? Yes. But the problem is, there's two major problems that I see in this. One is that it shows that the rampant migration, the unchecked, unfettered, illegal migration into this country is having a profound effect in changing the very demographic and base instincts, core beliefs, values of the American populace. I won't say the American electorate, because there's a whole swath of these people that are voting illegally. So this is where Trump and Tom Homan and others need to step up their efforts. We need to see 100,000 deportations a day. Well, 10,000 a day. That's 3.6 million a year. We need to see 10,000 deportations a day, so that by the time Trump's presidency is over, we can have deported at least 12 to 15 million people. They need to get them out of the country. At the same time, this is why I am becoming more and more let's say, supportive of Trump's nuclear option. Get rid of the filibuster. But again, only do it. Only do it if you've already got agreement from the House and the Senate that we are going to pass the most right-wing agenda we possibly can. And that'll get done. Make sure you've already got the votes for voter ID, in-person voting, audited paper ballots, hand-counted only for national elections, because they can't mandate state elections, but they can mandate what the states do for national offices, for all of the House, all of the Senate, and the presidency. They can do that. So they can do things that will make it nearly impossible for Democrats to win in the future, and that will completely undercut their base. At the same time, the other thing that would have to happen if we were to go with the nuclear option is redo the census right now. right now, redo the census ideally prior to the midterms. I don't think you can get it done, but certainly prior to 28, redo the census and reapportion all of the House seats and hence, by default, the Electoral College votes prior to the 28 national presidential election. That can be done because a new census that does not count illegal aliens and that shows all of the COVID migration and even some of the recent blue state migrations into red states would possibly shift the Electoral College balance of power such that the Democrats would be on the outside looking in. They would have to win every single blue wall state and then some to win an election. They would start behind the 8 ball. You could see California lose 10 seats. So if we're going to fight fire with fire, I can see getting rid of the filibuster, but only if you've got it preset that you've got all the votes to do those things. Let me know what you think in the comments. But he's absolutely right. Dinesh D'Souza is. This is a grave threat to the way of life in America. Now, I want to jump into the Tim Pool podcast because he was talking, and they were talking about the fact that essentially what Mamdani did is he promised a whole bunch of free stuff. And he basically co-opted a group of voters that should have nothing to do with Islamists. But here they are, and they've been able to cobble this thing together through essentially lies and innuendos and misinformation and get him into office, which is the problem. He's the Trojan horse. Here we go.
Protest vote. So his constituencies were Muslims, South Asians, and then these 20 to 30 something overeducated, over-credentialed, downwardly mobile hipsters in Bushwick and Brooklyn who think they're the working class because they failed to get like amazing jobs and have student loan from getting, degree upon degree upon degree. They have enormous contempt for labor. And as a result, they want things from the government despite him being like the most privileged people on planet Earth. And Mamdani is their avatar. This is a guy who's like a total Nepo baby, never worked a day in his life, lives off his parents, but makes it seem cool, right? Like it's cool to like live off your parents, be a total failure if you can make great content for social. They don't actually want him to do any of this stuff. They would never dream of shopping in an Aldi. Forget about a free supermarket. These are people who spend $12 on a cold brew. Okay, Tim, it's all one big virtue signal. They feel like the government should pay them to make their shitty podcasts. And this is just a protest vote for them. So
she's absolutely right. The group that he cobbled together are rich leftist students, people who have gotten degrees, whether they got student loans or not, or they got paid by mommy and daddy. They now have these fancy looking degrees in women's studies, gender studies, LGBTQ studies, French, 6th century French poetry, underwater basket weaving, and they can't get a job. And so now they want the government to pay them. These people hate labor. The idea of being an AC technician or an electrician or a plumber, these people hate that. The Mamdanis of the world hate that. Realize that Mamdani is not working class. He billed himself as working class. He's not. He grew up in ultra wealth. He's never had a real job in his whole life. That's what this is about. He is their avatar. He is their Trojan horse to get into the mayor's residence in New York and try to remake New York in the image of Dearborn or London. Now, I said before there's the highlight of two major problems. One was the unchecked, unfettered immigration that is threatening to remake the demographics and the electorate because half of them, a bunch of these people vote illegally. But the other problem that it showcases is the fact that the church writ large in America has become feckless. It is abdicated its responsibility 40, 50 years ago. Coming out of the 60s, the church writ large abdicated its responsibility. You had a bunch of people who went to church, but who did not live as Christians. You had a bunch of people who went to church and lived as hypocrites. You had a church that essentially rolled over to no-fault divorce. Instead of holding up marriage as the essential, holy institution that it was, now they said, okay, no-fault divorce. They gave into serial monogamy. And what that leads you right down the path to other lifestyles, because now serial monogamy is a lifestyle. Well, then what's wrong with just, sleeping with or living with your girlfriend? Or what's wrong with, with same sex? What's wrong with, multi-partner, with the polyamory? It goes down the road. So the church has not stood up for the truth in America. And now you've got competing versions of post-Christian America. You've got an entire influx of Islamist immigrants who want to shove Islam down people's throat. Now, the one thing that Christianity has never done is shove it down people's throat, because it is ultimately a love-based choice. That's how God set it up. But that's not what Islam is based on. Islam is based on submission. Whether it is by choice or by force doesn't matter to them. It is more of a political ideology as much as it is a religion. So with that, and as she said, they co-opted a whole group of disaffected people who have all this money, all this privilege, all this stuff. They spend $12 for a latte, have nothing in common with people who actually work for a living, and they want the government to pay them. They want European, quote unquote, socialism, where they have your guaranteed basic income, where they basically get paid to do goofy things like podcasts and whatnot without actually working any of it out. Now, check this out, because Charlie Kirk, God rest his soul, he was on to this long before it happened. And I thought this was very telling when I saw this today in light of the results of yesterday's elections. Check this out.
The spiritual battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school, while also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day. That's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization. And this is where I think is a great rallying cry. Doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, doesn't matter if you're Asian, doesn't matter if you're black or white. Everybody, if you are Christian and Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, these two threats are combining forces to come after us. And it's time that the church stands and rises up against it.
Yep. And the church has not stood and risen up against it. The church has, in many ways, caved. They first, like I said, they caved to the whole no-fault divorce and not upholding marriage as the holy institution that it is. And they have since, in general, caved in a lot of ways to the whole LGBTQ. You've got whole sections of Christianity that have bought into the it's okay to be gay and Christian. Hey, if somebody wants to be gay in light of Christianity, that is fine. We are not the moral police. We're not going to make you behave. Christianity is a choice. It is a free will choice to follow God, to follow Jesus. And so we don't need to make you behave in a certain way other than ways that conform to the laws of the United States of America. So you can't murder, you can't force yourself on other things like that. But like he said, the two forces that are joining together are the ultra-left progressive wokeism and Islamism. And the fact is that Islamism has nothing in common morally with any of the ultra-wokeism LGBTQ nonsense. They despise it. In their countries, they throw those people off roofs. If you cannot be gay and live in a Muslim country, you will be killed. but they are joining forces in America in order to destroy America. This is the constituency. This is the tenuous alliance that I think they have forged in New York City. The ultra progressive woke nonsense, the gays for Palestine groups, as just to put a moniker on it, along with your other ultra left progressives, along with your Islamists, have joined forces to try to put this man in power, and they have now done it. He is the mayor of New York City. And we're going to see how this all works out. Boy, so thank you, poor Charlie. Charlie was absolutely 100% right. It is time for Christianity and the church writ large to stand up and fight. Fight with debate, fight with, as the Bible says, always be ready to give a defense for the hope that lies within you. We're not talking about violence or any of that nonsense. We're talking about exactly what Charlie did. Go into the lion's den in colleges, in universities, in other areas of debate, and debate these people and welcome them to come question you and have an answer. And Charlie was extremely effective at actually converting and turning those people around. And we need another 10,000 Charlies, people out there doing the exact same thing, upholding biblical truth as stated in the Bible. And we'll see where this goes. But I really appreciate everybody rolling up. Let me know what you think in the comments. We are being taken over slow and easy. Yep. And we've got too many quote unquote conservatives, supposedly MAGA people who are focused on all the wrong things right now, infighting over Zionism and this other thing. All that can be debated. But first, we have to make sure that the left in this country is defeated, soundly, profoundly, permanently, if possible, defeated. Let me know what you think in the comments. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Please smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. If you like the content, please share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. Join us on YouTube as a member. We'd love to have you part of the Courageous Army. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Remember, God is good and he is sovereign. Even in the midst of this, God is in control. Hope you have a great Wednesday. Till I catch you next time.